Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 257 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. Today's episode is pretty simple. I'm going to give you my thoughts on who I think will win the NBA Finals in 2026. So we're going to start off right away with the Eastern Conference between the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic. Now, the Orlando Magic absolutely dominated the Charlotte Hornets, but in the end, I'm not really going to give them any luck. I'm going to give the Detroit Pistons in 5. Detroit has a really dominant team, and they were good all year long, and I just think they're going to be way too much for Orlando to handle. Then next up, between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors, I'm going to give Cleveland the edge in 7. Darius Garland, James Harden, and the crew, I just think they're going to be way too much for Toronto to handle. Then next up for game one, because by the time it comes out, game 1 will already be over. The New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to give it to the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to get revenge against the Hawks. I think Knicks in 7. It's not going to be pretty, but I just think the Knicks also have a better balanced overall team compared to the Hawks. Then next up between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm going to give it to Boston, even though they didn't have Jason Tatum for most of the year, but I still think the Celtics are a super dominant team. And then for the West, we're going to go with the San Antonio Spurs and the Portland Trail Blazers. Give me San Antonio. I like this year's Spurs team, and I really hope they could go on a deep, far run. That's just my prediction. Then next up, we're going to have the Denver Nuggets over the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this will be a very fun game. I'm going to say Denver takes it out in 7. I think the Wolves are going to be fighting for really hard, but in the end, I think Denver is going to outball the Minnesota Timberwolves. Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets. Give me Houston for this one. It's not that I don't dislike the Lakers, but it's just that I just don't trust them as an overall team, especially to a young Houston Rockets team who I think can be a very fun and exciting team to watch. So in the end, I'm going to say Rockets in 5. Next up, the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Phoenix Suns. Really a no-brainer. I'm going to give the Thunder in 5. Just a dominant beast team. Literally the best team in the NBA all year long. All right, now we're going to have to the conference semifinals. Between the Thunder and Rockets, I think Thunder's going to run away with it in 5. I think they're going to be a little too much for Houston to handle. Then the next one between Denver and San Antonio, I'm going to go with San Antonio over Denver. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to have a humongous series in the conference semifinals. Now for the East, between Detroit and Cleveland, honestly, give me Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to upset Detroit in the conference semifinals and advance to the conference finals. Then between the Knicks and Celtics, I really want to see the Knicks go on a deep playoff run, but in the end, I think it's going to be the Celtics. There's just something that's going to convince me that Boston is just going to be too dominant for New York to handle. And, I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown together, they're just going to outdo Jalen Brunson and the entire New York Knicks team. So for the conference finals for the East, we're going to have Cleveland and Boston. And then for the conference finals, we're going to have San Antonio and Oklahoma. All right, and for the conference finals for the West, between San Antonio and Oklahoma, you know what? I'm going to still give the momentum and give it to the Thunder, but I think it's going to be in 7 games. I think San Antonio is going to give them a big fight for their lives and the way that they play and how they handle the basketball. But in the end, I just think Oklahoma is still going to dominate. Alexander's amazing. Caruso's still there. They just have a really beast team. So I think they're going to advance to the finals. Then between the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm actually going to give it to Boston. I think Boston will outball Cleveland. And it's another where I think just Boston's overall team will just outdo Cleveland. I'm going to say Boston in 6. Now for the NBA Finals, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Boston Celtics. All right, now we have the NBA Finals, and I'm going to give it to the Oklahoma City Thunder. However, with the amount of fight the Celtics have given, I think the Celtics are still going to run away with it in 7 games. Between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics, Boston's going to give them a fight, and I think Oklahoma still wins the championship. They're going to win back-to-back for the first time in history. So in the end, I think the 2026 NBA Finals winner is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. This will conclude episode number 257 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. Always let me know your thoughts and opinions on Twitter at Bill Man Sports, Instagram at Bill Man Sports Guy, and here on YouTube at Bill Man Sports Guy on who you got winning all the way. I hope you all enjoy this next episode. Stay tuned for episode number 258. Peace.